All right, let me introduce these guys. Anthony Bell, I haven't seen in a lot of years. Wow. He was like this tall the last time I saw him. Anthony is a CC graduate. He's a freshman this year at UF. He got the Bright Future Scholarship, and he works at Chick-fil-A. What are you majoring in?
Business.
In the mic.
Oh, business.
Okay, excellent. We have Wyatt Thompson, Challenge 3 at West Broward, and he's taking CC Plus classes.
Yes.
Sterling Barrett, Challenge 4 student at Plantation East, taking CC Plus classes and accepted to the honors program at Liberty. You don't have to pass the microphone. You guys aren't talking yet. Taylor Russell is a CC graduate from West Broward. How many years ago? A bunch.
6.
She graduated magna cum laude from Jacksonville University with a Bachelor in Fine Arts in Dance, and she will graduate next month with a Master's of Fine Arts in Dance and Choreography from Hollins University. Congratulations. Almost. Yes. And we have David Diaz, who is Challenge 1 in Plantation West, and his twin sister. Do you mind if I just love that you guys are twins. Sorry, Olivia. And then Bella is Challenge 3. So here's the question. And Sterling, you have the mic, but pass it to Anthony. We can go down the row. So what did you like the most about CC, or what helped you the most once you were out of CC?
I think what I liked the most. I mean, well, there were a lot of things that I liked, a lot of things that I didn't like. I mean, it was school, but I think I really did enjoy the community. I enjoyed the friends I made along the way and stuff, and I think that it's a lot easier growing up in a Christian household and just being surrounded by other people who have the same worldview as you. It makes things simpler, just not having to go through, because I have a lot of friends who went to public school, and not that they turned out worse or anything like that, but it's just a matter of they had to kind of come to that crossroads with their friends where it ended up being like they are on a different path in life just because of the way that they're raised, their household, that kind of thing. And I think growing up in CC, I didn't really have to do any of those things. I didn't have to jump through any of those hoops early on. I mean, I kind of have to now, later on while I'm in college, but I think it makes things just easier early on, not having to process all that. And then something that I took out was definitely, I think, a lot of the college advice that I got from my tutors, because a lot of my tutors, had degrees in math, had degrees in writing, and they were able to give me a lot of good advice at things that I'll see at college that I think really is helping me now just kind of understand the things that I need to do in my universities. I mean, a big thing like understanding the teachers, like I think one of the moms was saying on the panel before us, I think that that's huge, and I think that that's something that I was able to kind of understand even through understanding my different tutors that I had over the years and just understanding the way they taught and things. Some teachers are very loose, some teachers are very strict, finding that balance and knowing how to navigate that, I think, is super important, and I think I learned a good amount of that as well. Yeah.
So my favorite thing in CC is the work that we do. And yes, some weeks are going to be very easy, and some weeks are going to be super hard, especially when you get towards the end of the semester. But what I really enjoy about the work is the fact that we're doing it from a biblical worldview, and that what we study, it's all integrated. All the subjects are related to each other, and then we get to see how they relate to God. And look in page 21 of the catalog. There's something called the catechesis wheel, and it shows the subjects, how they're related to each other, and how they relate back to God. For example, this year in Challenge 3, we are studying in the debate strand American history, and in the reasoning strand philosophy. And as we're reading the book, the American history book, we see how the philosophies have contributed to American politics and social life. And one of the assignments in the reasoning strand, we have to do a philosophy lecture where we take a philosopher and his philosophy, and about like just almost like a history report, like what he did and how it has affected society. And for my philosophy lecture, I'm doing John Locke, and I am showing how he contributed to American documents. The Founding Fathers had used his work in the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, and the Bill of Rights. So that's just one example of the many ways the subjects correlate to each other, and as I said before, relate back to God.
So it's an excellent question. What is my favorite part of CC? And both these young gentlemen in front of me have had great answers, and I'm going to have to steal from them a little bit. Mr. Bella touched on a topic of community, and it's called classical conversations, and that second word, conversations, we have conversations all the time, whether that's in the classroom or during lunch or out in the hallways, and I just love that aspect of kind of a community. It is what it advertises. Beyond that, Wyatt touched on the curriculum, and I'm a big fan of the curriculum, specifically in its compounding and integrated nature. So as you go through Challenge, you have 6 topics every year. And as you continue to go, you get 6 more topics and 6 more. Sometimes you repeat history a little bit. But what I like most about that is seeing how they all play together. And Wyatt gave an excellent example. In Challenge 3, you read a book called The Consequence of Ideas by R.C. Sproul. And it talks about philosophers and what they said and how it affects us today. And I have the wonderful opportunity to now point out, you have this wonderful, you have this wonderful connection to history, Western history in Challenge 3, but it continues to lay the golden egg. In Challenge 4, we study global history. And we get to see the further effects of not only these philosophers, but their ideas. And so, yeah, that's kind of where I end. Yeah.
Oh man, this is a tough question. I have so many things that I love about classical conversations, but I have multiple things. I'm going to say a couple of things, but one of the main things is that classical conversations has a very radical approach to teaching education. I've been to a regular high school, and then of course I've been homeschooled, and when I was in high school, or the high school that I went to, is very lecture-based. And, the teacher is teaching and regurgitating information, and you're writing it down, and then you're supposed to go home, and you're supposed to study it, and then you go back to school, and it's repeated, through all of the subjects. Classical conversations is completely different. The first thing that I think of is, and something that they talk about through the challenges, is the Socratic circle. And how, and I don't know if most of you know what the Socratic circle is, but pretty much it's a literal circle, and it's very inclusive. So everybody's involved. Everybody's having a conversation about whatever the topic is, and engaging and having opinions and about, whatever the subject or material that is being talked about. And I think that was one of the main things that I loved, because when I was in school, I had so much anxiety, like when it came to tests, like when I heard the word test or something that was timed, I was like, I'm going to throw up. Like I can't do this. Like hearing the word test for me was like the worst thing on the planet. And coming to classical conversations and, being able to learn at my own pace. and understanding that, you know, the panel with all the moms, they talked about this concept of mastery, right? We just want you to master the material instead of like, okay, take the test, you get a B, you get a C, you get a D, whatever, okay, continue, move on, and you don't even know what you're learning or what you did in the first place. And also with me, I have some learning challenges, right? So I learn at a slower pace than most people. And being homeschooled and being able to, and I found that out when I was in high school. I had a Spanish teacher, love her, who I was taking a Spanish test and I didn't finish it. Everybody else finished, and I'm freaking out, shaking the whole 9 yards. And I remember giving the test, I'm like, I didn't finish the test. I was like, I don't know what to do. She's like, calm down. She's like, just relax. She's like, all you need is more time. So she put me in another room. I think the test took me another 2 hours, and I ended up getting a 96. And I remember she gave me the test back and she just winked at me and I was like, you're right, like I just needed more time. Literally, I just needed more time. And so learning that about myself and transferring that into homeschooling and into my undergrad and even into my master's, it all followed through. And so that was probably one of my main things that I loved about classical conversations was the engagement with the material and all, you know, the aggressive conversations that we'd have throughout all the challenges, and then how that progressed. And I saw that, like, oh, we do the same thing in my undergrad, and especially in my master's degree was where I saw it was like, oh, I already know how to do this. It's just on a master's level. So, yeah.
I just want to point out that Socratic Circles start in Challenge 2, second semester. So if you're looking forward to that, and you're wondering why your kid isn't doing Socratic Circles, it is coming.
Sorry, I should have said that.
So one of my favorite things I would say about CC and Challenge is that when you're in community, you're not completely pressured to finish everything week by week. Let's say if you have a big assignment, like in Challenge A, there's the science fair. Challenge B, you have the mock trial. And Challenge 1, which we're doing now, you have your big research paper, which is a 10-page paper. It's a very big assignment. And if you don't have something completely finished 1 week, you still have time to finish it and complete it. And if one of your other students has finished it, they can give you some advice and tell you, oh, what I found is if it's easier if you just do this instead of this and going through this whole big line. And I would say that it's really cool to understand what some of the adults that I hear talking, I understand what they're saying when they talk about certain politics and policies. It's very cool to understand that, because in Challenge 1, we sort of got into the sort of politics of America. We see American history. We're doing team policy debates where we're arguing certain topics like the death penalty, non-citizen voting, or 2 that we did this year. And I just find it really cool that you can go to a conversation and understand what the adults are saying, and then they'll just be shocked, like, wow, how do they know this? So that's probably my favorite thing about Challenge.
So this is a tricky question because I have a lot of favorite things about CC. And probably building on to what my brother said, I also like the flexibility of the schedule. Now, I play travel soccer and I do high school track. So trying to get all my schoolwork done day by day, each thing, it's pretty difficult. So I like the flexibility of our guide, that I could do more schoolwork on some days and, you know, like I could do a few more assignments on Wednesday because I know I have a track meet on Thursday and I won't be able to get all my things done. So I definitely like the flexibility of the schedule, and I also like the cool assignments they give us. Like one of the assignments that we were giving this semester was to do a stock market venture project. Now I had no idea about anything in the stock market. I was like so lost when we first started talking about it. But then later, now I'm so used to it, and now I can understand all these things and how to track my stocks and how to know like the money I put in and take out. And it's a really awesome thing. And another assignment that we were doing was a 15-page research paper. Now this one was super interesting, and it might have been my favorite assignment so far, because I picked a topic that it was kind of a difficult topic because it hasn't been fully been researched yet, but prior to when I picked it, I thought that it was. So it is probably my favorite assignment because I was really able to dive deep and use my own knowledge to see which point or which answer to my question it really was.
So I also have a lot of favorites for CC and homeschooling, but like these great people were saying, one of my favorites is the freedoms that CC has. I am also a multi-sport athlete. I play travel soccer where I have practice for an hour and a half, 3 times a week. Then I have high school track during the day. And at some points during the year, I also have soccer in high school. So my life is very challenging with balancing schedules out. And I remember at one point this year, I was running for student body president. And I asked Miss Lysandra Russell, Miss Lysandra, am I going to have enough time to do this? Because I was really wondering, like, am I going to be able to balance all my stuff out? And she said, yes, you have the tools available to do it. And I did it. I ended up not winning, but it was a great experience. And another thing I also love is the community atmosphere of CC. Like one of the moms was saying, we know the whole family. So at lunchtime, we'll talk to 4-year-olds and we'll talk to 45-year-olds in the span of 4 minutes. And I also love that we know how to talk to them. It's not like, yeah, how are you doing? You know, like we have the courage and the, like, we're able to look them in the eye and say, yes, I'm doing well, how are you? So those are 2 of my favorite things of CC.
Wow, thank you so very much, all of you. And this is why I want my kids to do CC. So we have to be out of here in 9 minutes. Rachel, could you pray us out?